Okay, I am back, and I went ahead and, to get the case out of the way, moved it to the other room where it's going to eventually live, and brought in the clock that it's replacing and sat here at the back of the table so you could see the differences. Like I said, this clock dates to probably after 1885 or 1886, because it has the Seth Thomas logo there, and that's about the time they started adding it to the movements. And this is a movement that I've gone through and cleaned. The dial on it was pretty pitiful, and I haven't come up with a satisfactory replacement yet, so I've just went ahead and left it off. The clock has its original upper glass, you can see the waviness, and it has its original tablet, which is very nice. And then unfortunately somebody has nailed this molding, looks like the kind of molding you'd put in a mobile home to hide the joints and the paneling, on the case around the perimeter. And it looks pretty tacky, and I haven't bothered to pull it off because I don't know what it's hiding, and I figured this clock would just be a placeholder until I found another OG clock, 30-hour Seth Thomas, to take its place, because they're pretty common. And as you can see too, this being a later movement, there are screws holding the plates together in the corners instead of the pins. And I'm sure there's other minor little variations too. So now we have the movement out of the case, and we can start doing sort of a preliminary look at it here to see what it's going to need. And I think it's mostly just going to need cleaning. Here's a better look at the cobble job that was done in splicing this cable together. And as you can see, this rear pivot is been popped out of the back plate. And I don't think this is going to sit upright on its own. We might be able to use this as a shim here, so it'll stand up. There we go. The pivot doesn't look to be broken. It looks to be there. It's just for whatever reason this has been sprung and it's popped out. So it won't be a big deal to, when we have the clock apart, to put that in there. In fact, you can see that the pivot's not broken. There's very clearly the shoulder there, just to the right of the lantern pinion hub. Of course, there's the locking slot. There's the count lever. There's the wire that would dangle down below the dial that you could lift up on to resynchronize the strike. And you'll see that loop here in the wire that it has for that. You'll notice that this newer clock is lacking that feature. So probably what I'll do is I'll disassemble the clock and then remove all that old steel cabling. That will make it much simpler. There's the mess on the time side. Set this back out of the way. So the first thing I'll do before I start disassembling the movement is I will remove the verge and crutch. And you just simply slip this down like that, and then this lifts off. like that. We can set it aside. Now the gear train will run free, and it's pretty stiff. At this point I have two options. I can go ahead and remove these nuts and go ahead and take the movement off the seat board, or I can go ahead and pull the pins and pull the front plate off and then do that later on. So we'll just go ahead and pull the pins. And these are taper pins, just like the pins that we use to hold the hands on. So we'll use the taper pin pliers I used in the first video to remove the hands. And that was on there pretty tight. The pins look to be okay. Look to be pretty old. I'll probably try to reuse them. And might have to use both hands here to keep pins from flying away. So let me just go ahead and do this, and I'll come back and we'll do another part of the video.